twebaza nnyo nga kinoomu mutuwagidde ebitongole ebimu bituwagidde ebitannaba naddala amasomero ga yumeeya jagala bakuba akaama yumeeya yumuta mwekwatekwate mukole ki mubere kitole tukwataganeko bwe tuti nze nsimbule jjiya n'abantu bano nga mubabalanga nga bandi mabega nga ekigambo kyenina kyammwe nti yumeeya yasazeewo ng'eddoboozi amasomero ga yumeeya gonna bagenda kugulawo akawunti ndyoke nnyimiryawale nga menti kakati twagala budget bweti egenda kuyamba amasomero ga yumeeya naye nga yumeeya ne umuta bebatuyamba okutulambika wawali ki obwetaavu mbagambye bitu binnabeerawo n'ebisoboka singa musalawo okusalawo kuli erimmwe kino ntyogera nga mukama wange ali wali awulira akimanyi kyenjogerako atimanyi resistance eriwo nekitagisa mu business mu Centenery bank business oyagala kulaba ngendako eno naye oyagamba ki tukolagana naye ayagala muwe paasi ateebe naye ampa paasi nange nenkuba eno paasi okitegeera nze musookereza ne mukuba entiisa avaayo gyali nanziriza entiisa eyo nsobole omuddiza omuwumbo mukitegeera sinali munkenga nsonga eyo kakati awo mukitegedde kakati tunagenda okuvaa neno ng'ebigambo tukoze eki nga tuwulira ebigambo naye ng'eddoboozi abakama baffe weebali executive director agati agirina mirembe tutambudde ne twatoloola mutawanyiza ne mukyala mukozi oyo agi meeya tukwataganidde wamu agi akemba tukwataganidde wamu tuguse ensonga eno tusikeyo ebyaffe gyebiri eno naye tubisikeyo bikole ki kale banne mwebale kumpulirizawo assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatu desike eri wali eri agala okubuuza ekintu kyonna wali waliwo desike tukwata ku Centenery bank desike weeri wali eri naye neweyagula akantu bajja njigulawo mujja kunsaasira mbadde n'okutwala obudde obuwanvu kubanga ng'omukulembeze wa umma eno Vatican mbadde nina okuggusa ensonga Madina ne Mecca basobole okusegeera. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Wa alaikum salam. Tweyanziza nnyo ssebo mukadde waffe chief manager Centenery bank bannange mukkiriza olw'obudde nga bwe mulaba mukkirize bannange bakadde bange abagenyi baffe abalungi nyanirize mukadde waffe deputy director wa Islamic University in Uganda Dr. Kasozi Sebo Nsabotole kusalamu wali. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mukkirize era ku lw'obudde bano mbaanirize bakadde baffe abamu kubatambudde ne mukadde waffe Super Supreme Mufti. Indeed you are super, so tukwagala nnyo mukadde waffe. Mukadde waffe Sheikh Ibrahim Ntanda Mustafa Muzanganda eryo sinza dyerabira. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Oyo nno ye deputy Super Supreme Mufti sebo tukwaniriza nnyo. Mukadde waffe omulungi Sheikh Siraj Mudde Personal Secretary Super Supreme Mufti. Mukkirize nyanirize mukadde wange Sheikh Abdul Salam Mutiaba Imam wa Grand Mosque Kibuli sebo tukwaniriza nnyo. Mukkirize nyanirize muganda wange naye nduuza alabika uyaze mukadde wange Mr. Alhaji Tubi Haji Ayubu Mukalakasa Secretary Protocol abantu bakusalamu mulimu gwokola gw'amaanyi nnyo sebo. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ebutuka kamba toterabira. Mukkirize nyanirize mukadde waffe Mr. Abdulwahab Kasu Secretary for Education nsaba batolere ku salamu. Mukkirize nyanirize mukadde waffe Commissioner mulungi Education Alhaji Mukwatambula sebo mukadde waffe nsaba otolere ku bantu salamu. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Wa alaikum salam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mukwatambula Mozambique. Bane bwa buli azamanya
wano wetutudde LC1 Kisaasi Kisota zone mukkirize nyanirize mukadde waffe omukulu Julius Kisembo LC1 Kisota zone nsaba waali awo bire ku bantu. Wa alaikum salam yo mukama waffe sebo mukkirize bannaye nyanirize mukadde waffe bodi abasomesa ate batambuza essomero lino Alhaji Shaibu Mbazira sebo nsaba otole ku bantu salamu. Wa alaikum salam. Babuli azamanya bwetuwa mu lukuŋŋaana nga luno Honorable Latif n'atatola salamu ye Kisaasi yonna ne Julia ne Kawempe. Honorable Latif tola salamu sebo.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sebo mukadde waffe Sheikh Elias Kizito tusanyuse nnyo okulaba sebo kigozi raba tusanyuse nnyo okulaba sebo. Mbeera muli azamanya bwe saaniriza bahe teachers nkakasa mukadde wange agenda baaniriza naye kanyirize mukadde waffe Alhaji Burhani Mugerwa. Haji Burhani Mugerwa sebo nsaba otole salaamu wooli former head teacher Kawempe Muslim. Ntera nnyo gamba abantu bahe teacher babiri bemmanya abaleka ssente ku akawunti Haji Burhani Mugerwa ne Hajati Aisha Lubega nabisunsagazwa ne Mungu awasaasire omutima ogwo omulungi. Hajati Zulaika mbannimbi ompawula n'ogante si kituufu waba teyalekako nga naye kye tusinga okuwulira teyaleka kuba nange mukkirize essaawa eno ku lw'obudde Hajati omuta ogenda kubuuzabuuza ku bantu era gwe osobola okurecognizinga ba head teachers bo olw'obudde oluvannyuma ng'omaliriza ate nsobola okuyita mukadde waffe agenda okuwa keynote wano njamu babuulira ng'essaawa etuuse. Hajati Ajirina Mirembe nsaba ojje obuuze ku bantu bawe ku salaamu ne ba head teachers abo gwosinga okumanya abantu abo nze nnyinza okubasobya. Tusanyuse nnyo okulaba nnyabo era tukwebaza emirimu gy'okola.
Allahu Allahu Rabbuna Allahu Allahu Hasbuna Allahu Allahu Rabbuna Allahu Allahu
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Let me recognize the presence of our dear eminence, Sheikh Shaban Galabuzi, our Supreme Mufti, and his deputy seated there, our Secretary General, Mayor, all protocol observed. Allow me, first of all, to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the gift of life. We thank Him that we are all here, we are gathered here to celebrate together, to enjoy and have a meal as a team of Muslim fraternity on behalf of Uganda Muslim Teachers Association. As you have been told, I'm the executive director in UMTA, but I'm not, I can say, the person in the biggest shoes that should be here to address you. I want to request you to receive apology from our president, Haji Mpungu Musa. Yes, those of you who, you know him as the chairman of UMTA, but we changed a bit. We are going with the current trend. He's now the president of UMTA. He's somewhere attending a burial. He lost one of a member on the board. So he would love to be with us here, but with Allah's test, he has not been able to be here. In the interest of time, let me just appreciate our dear guests who have honored our invitation. We have tried as much as possible to invite you. It is not a very easy task to invite people for a function, but alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for enabling you to make it to this great event. I want to thank the chairpersons, school management committees, we invited heads of institutions here. Maybe since I've also been given a responsibility to introduce our people here, let me request our chairpersons who are present today, please to stand up for recognition. I may not mention one by one. Of course, I'm saying Haji, the chairperson of Chibuli, COA PTC, maybe is the senior, the chairpersons here, and the rest who are here. Kindly stand up for recognition. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We also invited our dear head teachers, our dear heads of institutions. Please, wherever you are, I know you have turned out in a very big number. You have not ashamed us. As usual, whenever we invite you, you always respond positively. Kindly stand up, our dear head teachers. With the chief behind me, Hadi Semunya Hamza. Thank you for coming. I have not seen many of them, and we have many here in the tent. I want to give accountability to our general manager that the head teachers are present here. Yes, they have moved along with their deputy head teachers. We have staff. We have recognized all of you. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate your presence here. On a special note, allow me to introduce to you my board members. UMTA is a young secretariat, but we do whatever we are doing because we have a strong team behind us to guide and supervise our work. Kindly, Hajat Zulaika Chibirige, please say salam. Thank you for coming. I have seen Hajiba Gala Ahmed. Thank you for coming. I have also seen Hajat Sarah Kusima. She's our lawyer. She guides us on law issues on the board. Thank you for coming, Hajat. I have seen Haji Semakade Ibrahim somewhere there. He's also the head teacher of Chibuli Secondary School. Thank you for coming. We have our senior founders of this great institution, UMTA. When I say founder members, for us we formed UMTA when it has already moved a very long journey. We joined it along the way, 20 years along the way. There are men who are down there who started this ambition, and they have been able to lay a very firm ground for us to lead this institution. I have seen Haji Sobuga, doctor there. He's one of the founder members of UMTA. I have seen Haji Mbazira, also a founder member of this institution. Those I have not seen, I really recognize your efforts and support you really did to this institution to see that it is really doing this great work. Uganda Muslim Teachers Association is an umbrella of Muslim teachers in Uganda. For those of you who are not in our fraternity, we do, our main focus is to increase access to quality education, and we do this through a number of programs, academic improvement programs. You may know us for the joint mock activities, but we do several other programs that look at improving access to quality education. We also move ahead to look for partners. That's how we came to have a partnership with Centenery Bank, because we know with education you cannot work alone. Education is a very strong pillar to transform this society, and to move straight you have to work with other people. You have to put other people on board, and I want to encourage you to accept and accommodate all people of all sorts of kinds. That's how we are going to move this community and the Ummah forward. I want to encourage you to support Centenary Bank, since they also thought of us Among all the other people that they decided to share a meal with us as a sign of their corporate social responsibility. They have done so many things in terms of health, but when they also want to focus on education, now we know they are now on the right track, because health and education are key pillars when it comes to transforming the society that we are in. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to end by thanking my team, my great team. They are very busy there. I will not invite them here, but we really appreciate their effort. They have done so much to see that we have this great function a success. I also want to thank our partners that we move with on several other programs. We have people from Soma Foundation. Those are our partners that offer us scholarships to our needed students who want to go to the university. The slots are still available for those who have students who completed Senior 6 and they don't have where to go because of financial issues. Yes, please send them to us. We shall support them. But our main focus is education. That's the profession we are supporting. That student must be willing to offer education at university. Also recognize another partner of ours, MS Vocational Experts. Those are working in our schools to ensure, to instill hands-on skills to our learners. You know, the world has changed. We have to move dynamically with the trend. We have to teach our learners the skills that will give them opportunities for the future. So for all those services, in case you need to have them in your schools, please approach us at the UMTA Secretariat based in Chibuli. We shall be there to receive you and to give you all the services that you need from us. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for coming. I wish you a very good evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Haja tuteyanziza nnyo era munzikirize obutalya budde ozinyanirize omuntu Dr. Yusuf Nsubuga, former commissioner, Dr. Woli Sabotole Kusalam, Dr. Yusuf Nsubuga na mulengedde kaabo. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi. Banaye mukkirize kino words of wisdom bituyamba mu nsi eno okutambula obulungi n'okulaakulana. Mukkiriza akaseera kano mpite omulungi ow'ekitiibwa DVC Professor Salongo Umaru Kakumba abiko ebigambo byatusiira olukuŋŋaana luno. Era ssebo sikirizanga nategetegeza enfamba kibona obumaliriza ebigambo byo ojja tuyitira MD ajje atatuyitira omugenyi omukulu ssebo. Eyanziza nnyo tweyanzeebye.
Wangala wangala Professor wangala 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 sebo Professor wangala wangala
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullahi karim wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallim wa ba'da. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Umaru Kakumba is my name. I want to appreciate the opportunity and the invitation that was extended to me to share with you a few words of wisdom on the topic, which is running educational institutions as businesses and the challenge of maintaining academic excellence in our schools. I'll apologize, I'll not delve into the protocol. I want to recognize the chief guest, Your Eminence, and the Supreme Mufti of Uganda, Sheikh Muhammad Ramadan Galauzi, Your Eminence, the Deputy Mufti, and your esteemed team. The distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am negotiating between the time for breaking the fast and the merit that I can bring to presentation that I had prepared in quite a lengthy, paper structure, but then I have to negotiate between the time for breaking the fast and then sharing these ideas. We have agreed with Haji Musisi that I try to do this in the very best of about 15 minutes. But I'll use the language of English, and for, again, the attention of everybody, the topic of the thing that was given for presentation today is about running education institutions as businesses, but at the same time striking between the business, which is driving towards profitability, getting profits, but at the same time having to maintain the excellence in education institutions as business. So it's quite a very, very complex issue, but then we have to delve into the history. So there are three major questions. I'm going to address myself to three major questions in the presentation. The first question is, does business have any business in education? It's a philosophical question. Can we talk about education as business? The second question is managing educational institutions as a business enterprise feasible in Uganda? Because I know there are private schools here that subscribe to UMTA and UMEA, but there are also government, privately founded schools, but government aided. But then there are also schools that are purely private. But at whatever level you have to look at these three types, you'll agree with me that today you cannot run any institution outside the mindset of a business, because you'll just be spending resources. Even the establishment of schools that are not based on business, they at least have a sole objective of having a return on investment. No, at least investment cost recovery. Even if there is no idea of having a return on investment, a return on investment means profit. Okay, Magoba, once you invest in something, you expect to get a return on your investment. But even the religious or philanthropic founded educational institutions also have the idea of having at least cost recovery. That the money I have put in should at least be recovered, even if I don't have any profit. Because we agree that no institution can be started with the sole idea of only spending at losses. At least the bare minimum is cost recovery. The third question is, what do school proprietors and managers need to do to effectively manage schools as businesses without compromising the quality of education? So those are the three issues I want to address myself into this paper. I'll not bother you very much in the history of educational institutions, but maybe you'll permit me to say that in Uganda here, formal education was established largely by Christian missionaries, as we know our history. 1877 up to 1900, we started formal educational institutions under the missionaries. Now for the Muslims, you'll also realize that the formal education institutions came almost as an accident. And there are many people who have written about this, including Abbas Chihimba, Dr. Ahmed Sengendo, and many other scholars. They have written about it. And the point is that it was an accident of commerce. Educational institutions in the Muslim community came as an accident of commerce. It was not well planned, and therefore was not deliberate. And for that matter, it had an impact on how we interfaced when liberalization came. It had an impact later on, as we shall see when liberalization came into existence. But we should also note that the late formalization of Muslim institutions, we know the establishment of UMEA, the Secretary General is here, Haji Kakembo, much later on, around 1937. You'll realize that from 1877, when the missionaries began their missionary schools, to when UMEA started, 1937, that is almost a difference of 60 years. So we're talking about a difference of 60 years. It's a huge gap. So meaning that from the onset, the Muslim education institutions started much, much later, 60 years, more than half a century. And that also had an impact on how now later on we are shortchanged into changing these institutions into businesses. Now running very, very fast, we also need to note that in the 1980s, there was economic meltdown or economic recessions and challenges around the world, but especially in our African countries. And it had to bring the ideas of the Western agencies like World Bank and IMF to provide prescriptions, which you know very well as structural adjustment prescriptions, to try and address the problems that were facing the poor economies. Our countries, especially in Africa and elsewhere in the developing world, faced a lot of challenges to sustain their economies. The prices had shot up, the entire economy, the goods were scarce, and then there was a lot of suffering. So the prescriptions of IMF and World Bank, when they came, the idea was that you must liberalize, meaning that liberalization, meaning that the state or the government had to reduce its expenditure on social services, and that the private sector had to come in. So we are looking at that background. When this liberalization came, 1980s, early 1990s, the effective adoption of liberalization and the structure adjustment in Uganda came in the late 1980s with the NRM government. There had been attempts during Obote government, but those didn't succeed. But we see the liberalization coming in effectively in the late 80s and 1990s. And that's when we see that liberalization policies that emerged, Muslim educations were found to be in their infantry. They were literally surviving on either government aid or they were receiving support from Muslim agencies around the world. But meaning that when liberalization came, in essence, these Muslim-founded educational institutions faced the worst-case scenarios. Because, one, when you said that the private sector now should play a role in investing in education and government should draw back, should take its steps back, it presupposed, the presumption was that we are supposed to have a middle class of investors that would put money in what? But these the middle class, the investors, we are not there. Because the IMF World Bank said that for us to give you aid as Uganda, as Tanzania, and the other poor countries, government must reduce on its expenditure on social services. But you and I know very, very well that when we talk about education like health historically is taken to be social services or a public good. So when you tell countries to remove its expenditure or reduce its expenditure in the public good or the social good, thinking that the private sector is there ready to invest in it, then you are dreaming. Indeed, it was a very, very big dream. No wonder we faced a lot of hardships. We faced a lot of hardships. So how do we all of a sudden become investors in education institutions as businesses from that background? Because like I have indicated, the notion of liberalization came as a reform prescription, as a conditionality that government don't invest in health, don't invest in education. It should be the private sector to run these education institutions. But on our side as Muslims, you know, Umeya had been founded, okay, for mobilization. But then you know that these education institutions, especially primary schools, these Umeya schools and the few secondary schools that we had, again, under the support from the foundation body of Umeya, were all thriving largely on either government aided or from those other agencies outside the country. But these retracted. They had to retract their support. So the point number 4 I want to make, I've made 3 points giving into that history where we we see that the formalization of Muslim education came much later, almost 60 years. And we also see that when liberalization came, it caught us unaware, where institutions were in their infantry, and therefore we lacked a middle class to invest in these institutions, and therefore the Muslim-founded institutions faced the worst-case scenarios when this liberalization came in, because eventually funding from foreign agencies stopped or dwindled, but there was also hardly no entrepreneurs to take over the reins of investing in these schools. The point number 5 I want to make here is that is the one of education being a public good and a common good. And as I have highlighted, that historically, education has been known to be a public good or social service, just like health, and which would be, ordinarily would be a responsibility of the state. But this was bound to change. So when we liberalized, what happened? What happened were mixed fortunes, okay, having challenges, but also creating a lopsided education system. This education is the Dr. Anso who guys know about these things, and the Haji Kakembos here, and the commissioners Mukwatampala. But you'll allow me in the interest of time to highlight what became the challenges of trying to venture into business of education. So there have been challenges, and one of the challenges that we are able to see as the implications of liberalization, the first one is that there was a rush to establish these new private schools as businesses by people. And as we might all reflect or get to know about what transpired in the past, some of these schools never followed. When they were being established, they never followed the Uganda Ministry of Education and Sports guidelines for establishing, licensing, registering, and classification, as we know them, of either private institutions or not. These modalities or procedures were never followed, because government all of a sudden withdrawing, they wanted to have a gap. But also secondly, most of the new business proprietors, the new investors who came into the schools, did not have the prior knowledge of education and skills. Those that had money were not actually well acquainted with the requirements for running education institutions. So you have investors who are just pumping in money. The only thing they are looking at is a return on their investment profits. And that was going to give us a lot of problems. So we are saying that these business proprietors, okay, had no prior knowledge in basic school management and leadership. They had no communication skills, no organizational management skills. The curriculum development and pedagogy, there was not a lot of attention provided on that. There was no business analysis on what needed to be invested and for how long would the investment take a period before one would think about profit. So there was no consideration of that. The other challenge that came in is that even the anticipated financial support from the private indigenous investors was also very, very small, because already foreign capital had become thin. So those who pretended to be investing were investing in sparingly, very little, but expecting to reap out very quickly in 1 year. Now those were huge challenges playing around with education systems. But there was also a challenge of qualified teacher population, especially at primary and secondary schools. And of course the worst case scenario was the early childhood. Now, so as a way of trying to make ends meet, little investment, expecting quick profit, what happened was the poorly paid teachers, you had to squeeze down on the cost of labor, meaning that pay teacher very little, okay? The other alternative was make sure that you have more students population enrollment, paying money. So that also created the consequence of having schools with inadequate space, but also in the run to having many learners enrolling in order to make some profit so quick. So we had poorly paid teachers because of the unregulated market for the salary. Remember, our laws had no minimum wage, so people would be paid. So teachers became nomads, pastoralists, moving in schools, one teacher running in two, in order to make ends meet. And the school administrators didn't bother, because they said, okay, you can run in as many schools as you are.
Ramadhan, do's and don'ts. Zikutuswako.
But you know where I come from? We don't drive cars. We drive donkeys.
Buy our Feast for All and get a free Streetwise one to share, because sharing is caring. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Do recite the Quran. Muslims are expected to read the Holy Quran during the month of Ramadan. As stated above, Allah's teachings come from the heaven to the earth in the form of the Quran and were first revealed to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ during this month.
Ramadhan, do's and don'ts. Zikutuswako.
But you know where I come from? We don't drive cars. We drive donkeys.
Buy our Feast for All and get a free Streetwise one to share, because sharing is caring. KFC, it's finger licking good.
by 100 natekayo enkoko eno wansi mbuzi okimbadde nseeringa kweyatayo
Explore, enjoy, and dance to the latest content, beats, and kawozi from Uganda and beyond. Simply go to your Play Store or App Store right now, find Afro Mobile, download it straight to your phone, and get started. Is it TV you want? Simply open the app, click on TV, select the channel you want, and watch live. Are you busy right now? Then check out On Demand or enjoy in your free time. Afro Mobile. The future is now.
Malaria prevention and control requires society-wide effort. Let's work together to end this disease, because zero malaria starts with me, in my family, in my community. This message is brought to you by Ministry of Health in partnership with Malaria Free Uganda, EcoBank, Speak Up Africa, and MBS TV.
Carry a world of entertainment with you wherever you go with DSTV Stream.
na BD ne Airtel 4G Pocket Wi-Fi Lite kusiriza emitwalira n'ekitundu kyokka ate sekyo kyokka ekirako ebitundu 10 bya double data okumala emyezi 3 egisooka ne GB 5 okumala ennaku 7 ndikasita 10 hashi olondewo 7 weeyagale gwe nali mu Kampala tukubireko ku noti 8 noti 333 noti etali yakusasulira tugikuleetere ku bwereere ne Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Centenery Bank brings you a new way to bank with Center WhatsApp Banking. To start WhatsApp Banking, just add the Center WhatsApp number 0744 200 555 to your contacts. Find the bank's contact in WhatsApp, send a greeting, and you will be asked to verify your number with a one-time PIN. Once you are verified, you will receive a menu from which you can choose the service you want to access by following the prompts. For example, to transfer money to your mobile money wallet, just type mobile money and follow the prompts. You can also pay bills, top up airtime, and access your account details all in WhatsApp. To access Center WhatsApp banking, you have to be registered with Center Mobile. Be fraud alert. Don't share sensitive information like passwords or PINs with anyone. If you have any inquiries about Center WhatsApp, call our toll-free line at 0800-200-555 or email info@centenarybank.co.ug.
Centenary Bank is celebrating 40 years of transforming lives.
Centenary Bank is a member of the Centenary Group and is regulated by Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund up to 10 million Uganda shillings. Terms and conditions apply.
Centenary Bank, with you for life.
No, today education has provided teachers who qualified, but the challenge is that you have teachers who don't have the passion, who don't have the calling to go into those schools. And when it comes with the very little pay, we are talking about our middle and lower, category of schools that are not charging highly. They are charging mitwala satu, mitwala atano, at least below 1 million. They may not be able to afford the maintenance of this high quality and passionate teacher. So meaning that those good teachers who post good marks will be poached, like poaching, by the other super schools, the chitenders of this world that can afford to pay 3-4 millions a month. I know government has increased some pay for science teachers, but that is skewed towards the minority group. So you find that we still face that challenge, but the bottom line is that schools that can afford those highly services, state-of-the-art services, can be able to really do good business. Because as you know, many of them charge 3 million for a student, and so on, and they can afford to pay 3 million, 4 million, 5 million to teachers in order to maintain the quality of those teachers. They have also set up the modern ICT and technologies that can support the quality education. So the quality education in investment is a possibility, but with a lot of challenges. And then how you balance between academic excellence, the quality, profitability, remains a very big challenge. But finally, again, in the interest of time, I'm juggling between the paper, is that it is important that we must cultivate the values. As we pursue education to the secular world or to the secular objectives, we must not forget the value systems of our traditions, including the religious values. Because it will not pay. Today we are faced with the challenges like LGBT, drugs in schools, and what have you. So the education must not only be on the secularization aspect, it must be embedded with a holistic value. Holistic value including the moral. Because education must provide the moral. When we're talking about the quality of education, it's not just about the first grades. It's not about the triple A's. Because this now seems to be the trend that is driving many people to take their children in schools that are getting A's and distinctions. The consideration should also be on the moral fiber of our society, which is important. And today we have challenges that in the so-called highly revered schools, that is where also the penetration of these moral decadence, the moral character is also penetrating highly. The penetration is very huge. The drugs, substance abuse is very high in our schools, and so are the habits of homosexuality and lesbianism, which are really threatening the very basic of our young society. So while we can invest in schools as education institutions, the investors must be patient. The quality of a nation cannot be better than the quality of its education. Because once we forego the quality of education, then we shall have foregone the quality of our society and the quality of our future. With those few remarks, colleagues, I will share the paper. I try to juggle through in the interest of time. Inshallah, Bizin Rahman, I will share the paper with the UMTA Secretariat. It has a lot of examples, it has a lot of insights, but that's what I could afford to provide and share with you in this limited time. I thank you very much for listening to me. May the good Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I was requested to do a simple protocol of inviting the Managing Director, designate of Centenary Bank, the representative. It's your honor to address this gathering. The Supreme Mufti, Sheikh Mohammed Shaban Galawizi. Protocol observed. I see I have about 4 minutes to the breaking of the fast. My name is Michael Jingo, representing our Managing Director, Fabian Kasi, and allow me to greet you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allow me to also use Luganda because I am born here. Mbaniriza mwena kulwa mukama waffe wa Fabian Kasi ngawe tutegeza tulina akadde katini nnyo, so tubaaniriza era twagala mukolagane naffe. Empeereza yaffe nyangu nti ffe tusinga okubeera ne ebisale ebitono, tuweereza abantu bonna. Bwe mba mutunuulira amasomero gonna agasinga mu ggwanga lino, ffe tusinga okubeera nago nga tugabankinga n'okugaddiza nti bapatina baffe nga Opportunity International bayingira mu masomero ne batereeza ebyokugaddukanya, ate nga naffe tubayamba ku ntereeza y'emirimu. N'ekirala tubayamba okufuna ebintu ebirala nga baasi, kuzimba ebizimbe, ate naawe bw'oba olina obuzibu nga bwe wawulidde Biraali yatutuukirya ne tumuyamba. Tulina eyo ensawo eyamba abantu bwe batyo. Mu mbeera eyo era n'emiwendo egy'amabanja giri wansi ddala ku masomero, era tubaaniriza okugulawo akawunti naffe. Tubadde tutunuulira ekizimbe ekyo ne tugamba nti tetuva wano nga tetukiyambye. Tujja kuteekako obusawo 50 bwokka nga tuddiza Mariam hayo okutukkiriza okutuula wano, tusobole okubeera nga tutambulira wamu nabo, kubanga mikwano gyaffe. Alhaji Professor Umar Kakumba munnaffe nnyo, era bwe tuba tusomesa abantu tubeera naye, tutambula wamu naye, ate nga hajja kyali wano tetuyinza kuva wano nga tetusizeewo nsigo. Tulina eddakiika ntono nnyo. Badde nsaba nga sinayita Supreme Mufti era mbatoolere salaamu. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Kitaffe Your Eminence Supreme Mufti, mbadde nsaba obuze ku bannaffe abali wano abasiibi.
الحمد لمن قدر خيرا وكبانا وشكر لمن سول الله وشكر لمن سول مولانا قد صمد من سبق الخلق عليه ربنا عليه يقالك الحمد لمن قدر خيرا مولانا وشكر لمن سول
الحمد لله الذي هدانا للإسلام وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. وأصلي وأسلم على من جاءنا بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. abakulu abali wano obudde butukutte ate nga nabadde nesunze okwogera ebigambo bingi kubanga nga njogera mbange benze nga nambulalambulako ab'amasomero naye Katonda
Adhan ngekutuswako.
Hotel Africana. Come as a guest and leave as a friend.